Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Time, Darkness, and Sky. As part of the second installment of the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon series, Explorers of Sky is basically an enhanced or extended version of the co-released editions of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Time and Darkness. Kind of like what Pokemon Platinum is for Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, or what Pokemon Emerald is to Ruby and Sapphire. Something each Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, or PMD, game has in common is that you play as a Pokemon that was transformed from a human. In PMD Explorers, you wake up on a beach with no memory except for your name and, well, having been a human. The Pokemon who finds you, eager and lore-loving, wastes no time in offering you a way to piece together who you are, going to the guild, and forming an exploration team. I mean, you have nothing better to do. As apprentices, you live in the guild. It is where you sleep, eat, and pay taxes. As you get accustomed, you learn that there has been a drastic increase in rogue, aggressive Pokemon. Pokemon cannot evolve, and regions are being frozen as time itself is being disturbed, with drastic implications for affected regions. That's where I'll stop for now to introduce the other component of this video, the development of environmental thought. Two main themes in this video are non-human agency and apocalypse utopian narratives, particularly in regards to how Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers shapes public perceptions of environmental issues and reflects societal attitudes towards nature. In general, Pokemon has frequently done this by engaging with environmental narratives.
At this point, how can you not believe in climate change?
However, when it comes to non-human agency, PMD is a huge departure from traditional Pokemon games. Where in other games, Pokemon are housed in Pokeballs and kept for the express use of battling, in PMD, you are a Pokemon. And Pokeballs don't even exist. You know, you eat off of a plate at a table, rather than kibble from a bowl. Also, besides some outliers, by and large, Pokemon are known to communicate akin to animals, which is to say, Pika! Pika! Without words, versus PMD, where you have intense, complex conversations. Also, in the upcoming Z to A Legends, or even wild areas, where Pokemon are more or less segregated, akin to national parks. And when this is taken together, Pokemon leans toward this worldview that wildlife is there for our exploitation and use, vis-a-vis a desire to contain and control. If you want to learn more about environmental thought in the main series of games, I've linked an article on the Anthropocene in the doobly-doo. My point is that PMD challenges this trope in Pokemon, as Pokemon have robust settlements, including currency and taxes, and unique concepts of land stewardship. This aligns with concepts of the non-human and more-than-human world. Unlike the premise of Thomas Aquinas's animals cannot reason and were created for human use, Aristotle's Scala Naturae? Not sure. Or Pokemon's Gotta Catch 'em All. PMD is from the perspective of Pokemon, as beings capable of complex thought, able to construct bona fide civilizations without human influence. The second environmental theme in this video is that of apocalyptic climate disaster. Getting back to the aforementioned drastic impact on affected regions, there are these things called time gears, which are essentially the heart of a region. Time gears are responsible for maintaining the balance of time, and as you discover alongside your fellow guild members, when they are removed, their respective areas freeze in time. So why would you steal a time gear? Like, time gears must not be moved. But they are being moved, presumably by a very evil Pokemon, because everyone knows that moving a time gear makes time stop in that region. And who would dare take a time gear? Well, as it turns out, your partner. Not the one that found you on the beach and that you have an exploration team with and with whom you have co-constructed a concept of courage, but your original partner, when you were a human, Grovyle, who, as it turns out, is not the big bad evil guy, but actually is trying to save your world. Well, not your world, actually, because you both are from the future, an alternate timeline where the sun doesn't shine, water doesn't flow, nor does the wind. Nature itself has completely stopped, leaving the world a dark, ruinous shell. Uh-oh. Back to the environmental thought side of things. This plot, with its paralyzed world and elimination of nature, makes me think about when I played the game circa 2009. The concept of climate catastrophe still felt pretty new to the zeitgeist, at least compared to now, even though most provinces and territories are failing to teach at least some of the basic tenets of climate change. And even though in the game, the planet's flow slows down so much that it stops entirely, I am reminded of the concept of acceleration, or the Great Acceleration, aka the rapid and widespread increase in human activity and its impact on Earth's natural systems, where we are figuring out more and more as technology develops the potential impact our actions now could have on future generations. And in the context of humanity's greater timescale, things are moving very quickly. Although I think the game is very tied to land and the consequences of disturbing the land, this becomes more complicated as the game progresses, as land stewardship often does, come to think of it. And it still follows a pretty standard hero's journey-esque saving the world plot, centered heavily around individual action. If we're looking at societal views towards nature and media as a reflection of environmental thought, is it realistic to put the concepts of world renewal and protagonist in conversation with each other? I certainly was not immune to thinking, oh my god, it's up to me to save the world. To say an individual can make such an impact is maybe an unrealistic expectation for anyone, let alone a 9-year-old having an existential crisis. And it's easy to get overwhelmed with the prospect, particularly because most change on such a scale requires large systemic changes. Encouraging a world where an individual stands up to a big bad and makes a difference might be a bit irresponsible, actually. On the other hand, the game does not shy away from the importance of community. The guild is a huge part of that, as is the extended community of Treasure Town. Everyone has different duties, from Diglett identifying visitors to Chachot, the head of intelligence, in addition to the more obvious breakdown of responsibility that comes with type advantages as per Pokemon lore. You are part of many teams, and this narrative structure promotes standing up for something, to realize that some things are bigger than ourselves, and to overcome the desire to do what's best for you alone, which is a huge developmental step for kids that gaming can help with. This becomes particularly relevant when you find out that saving the world by changing the future will make your character disappear. You come to the conclusion that it is worth it to create a world that is not paralyzed, albeit one that you will not see. Even in the future, you were part of a planetary investigation team who agreed together to do whatever necessary to stop the paralysis, which of course resonates with action for climate justice to preserve life for future generations. On the other hand, the game still culminates with you as the titular character and only ex-human saving the world Utopia style. So kudos to the counter argument there. Then again, it is a game that's meant to be approachable for kids. And I think PMD is only able to explore the themes of loss and sacrifice and elimination that it does because at the end of the day, the world is saved. I remember the in-between bits though. The hours of gameplay where you accept that the story ends with you disappearing after putting dozens, if not hundreds of hours of labor in. Fighting Dialga was no joke, and bonding alongside your character to learn that sacrifice is necessary, especially for a world, a future that does not involve you. I don't think those lessons are mitigated or neutralized by the resolution of the story. If anything, I think it's kind of nice to learn in your single digits without being so emotionally devastated that you can't transfer the lessons from the scope of the screen to the scope of your world, where justice does not come easily. Indeed, as you navigate hope and despair, truth and deception, discovering who you are and where you come from, as well as the ever-elusive where you are going, finding courage and partnership, valuing futurity and agency, embracing the potentiality of the unknown, and the experience of living in the now, all in a world you, as a human, share with an incredible diversity of non-human agents, whose capacity is far beyond what Philosopher Kings imagined, and a world undergoing rapid change. A world that could end, but will likely outlive you. Those are some of the ways that I see environmental thought reflected in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers. Thank you for watching. See you next time.